Hi, I'd like to welcome my guest, Anna. Anna is a creator of all things. Anna, I have a series of questions I'd like to ask you. First, I will start with an icebreaker. Anna, tell me a funny joke.
Well, I'm going to tell you a joke that is, some people may say is funny, some people may not, but I think it's funny, which is, what is orange and sounds like a parrot?
I don't know.
A carrot. Like, it's pretty much the only joke I can remember.
It's good. It's good.
It's definitely a winner, that one, I think, anyway.
It is. Question one. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Anna. I live in Sheffield, in the north of England. I am a maker, so I spend most days making things. I work full time as a technician at Sheffield Hallam University, and while I'm there, I'm helping the students make things. And then in my spare time, I make my own things. So I like to be using my hands at all times of the day, really. My background is fine art, and I've also studied graphic design. And I love crafting as well.
That's really good. You're very busy. Question two. Is there anyone who influenced you?
um, I, this question, I feel like I'm going to give you a very, very broad answer. I'm interested in everything, and everything influences me. So I love music. I love pop culture. So I take a lot of my inspiration, not necessarily from other artists or other makers, from musicians and from things I see on the street, things I see on the telly, adverts. When it comes to actual creatives, there's probably two people at the moment that I'm really inspired by their work. I'm really excited by that, and that is Morag Myerscough, who is a designer who works quite large scale graphical pieces that are in the public realm. She has a large scale signage in the Design Museum that opened last year, and also Yinka Ilori, who is a London-based designer who started off kind of messing with chairs and turning old chairs into something very sculptural and beautiful and colourful. And then he has also started making much more large-scale, bright, colourful works, which is about bringing joy to those that walk past it or engage with it.
That's very good. Very interesting. Question three. Is there something you've made that means a lot to you?
I think the piece of work that I'm probably the most proud of is something that I was able to develop when I was studying a master's in graphic design, which I think I finished about 7 years ago. And this is a knitted anatomical model of a breast. It's amazing what you can get done when you really focus yourself and devote your time to something. You can create quite exciting things that have a great deal of thought and research going on into them to make them successful. So it's a 30 centimetre square, 30 centimetre diameter knitted anatomical model, which took me a very, very long time to make. And I wasn't at that point very good at knitting. And the reason I'm probably the most proud of it is because I was able to devote so much time to it. And I've been able to use that to show hundreds of people the piece of work, but what it actually was there for. It was a sort of a peripatetic thing. It was a an educational tool to help women understand their breasts more, to be able to continue or choose to breastfeed. So it felt like it was a personal best for me because I was really pleased with the make of it. But it also felt like it was a tool that could be used to help make the world a little better. So it was sort of a two-pronged reason why I was very happy with that.
So are you very scientific?
I think I'm not that scientific. My dad was a scientist, is a scientist. He was a biologist, and I think I wanted to be more scientifically minded than I actually am. I like to think I'm quite logical, but my brain is more creative than scientific, I think.
Thank you. Question 4. Is there anyone that you've worked with that you've enjoyed?
Yes. I've not done any what you would class as sort of collaborations with my work. I generally work on my own when it comes to making or creating things. But I've worked with some really fantastic people over the years as a technician, where I've learned a huge amount of skills. I also teach graphic design, and I've made some really interesting discoveries talking with colleagues about other makers or designers, and skills that I've picked up from people that I've worked with. And I've also worked with some really, really fun people who I've enjoyed spending time with as well. But when it comes to collaborations, I've not really done anything like that. I'm very sort of single-minded, and although I take a lot of influences from friends and colleagues and other makers that are artists that I may come across, when I'm working, it is a lone activity.
That's really good, thank you. Question 5. Do you have any projects that you've been working on?
I have always got loads of projects on the go, whether that's things that have been written on a scrap of paper in the middle of the night when they've come to me, or things that I've started and not quite finished. At the moment, I am working on making some large-scale signs, which are going to be sort of billboard size eventually. And I'm using recycled materials to make my own sequins. So one of my engineering colleagues has made me a punch, and I've been punching out sequins from Tetra Packs, you know, milk cartons,
Yeah.
and Tunnocks wrappers. So the Tunnocks tea cakes and the wafer biscuits, caramel wafer biscuits. So I've got a big box of these sequins, and eventually I'm going to stick them onto a billboard, and they're going to shimmer in the wind and look beautiful. I do a lot of knitting, so I've been trying to work out how I can knit some new and interesting shapes. I've also got a new pattern for a small anatomical boob that someone can make it at home. So they're given a kit with all the yarn and the former, and they can make that. Yeah, and about 100 other things that I want to make and haven't quite had the either the time or the materials close to me during lockdown to complete.
And it seems like you're always trying to develop new and interesting ideas.
Yeah, I have trouble sitting still, for one, so I always feel like I've got to be doing something. But I think it comes from the fact that I work in a workshop environment where I'm helping art and design students with all of this equipment around me. It's constantly, oh, how can I use that next? What can how can I exploit this machine to do something new and interesting that would suit my practice? So it's yeah, I can't stop.
You remind me of an inventor.
I think that's what it should have been.
Thank you. Question 6. Where would you like to be in 5 years?
Now, this is a bit of a hard one, really, because I think it's probably where I wanted to be if you'd asked me this 5 years ago, which is that I could be working as a self-sufficient artist and maker. I do like my job, and the facilities that it provides are fantastic, but I would love to be able to work in my shed full time. I built a shed in my back garden, which is my kind of maker space. And it's a great little space, but I don't spend enough time in there. So really, I want to spend all day, every day, making in the shed, and somehow making enough money out of the things that I physically make to.
That would be lovely to spend your time in the shed. It seems a really brilliant idea to do.
It would be.
So hopefully you get a chance to.
So.
Question 7. Do you have any hobbies or interests?
Well, it's funny because I work full time. It sometimes feels like the things that I am creating, that I'm making, are a hobby, which is quite a strange thing. But I do enjoy knitting. I've been knitting my father a what's called a gansey. So it's like a fisherman's jumper. My mum and dad live at the coast, and their village has a very specific designed gansey. So it has very specific patterns. It's a very, very complicated pattern. So I would say that probably knitting is my hobby. That and talking. I like that a lot.
So that's more of like deeper roots and stuff like that.
It's kind of going. I want to say it's slightly more what I do when I'm classing myself as being creative, but slightly more mindless, if that makes sense. It's slightly less creative use of the same processes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Question 8. Is there anything you've always wanted to do but never had the chance to do it?
Yes. I was thinking long and hard about this idea of what have I wanted to achieve and haven't done. And I think there's a few things that I've always wanted to do, but always been confined by space, which is I want to work larger scale. At the moment, everything I make has to be able to be made in the shed, which isn't that big. So I've really wanted to make some really large scale, more sculptural works that I just haven't had the opportunity to physically create them because I haven't had the space. So and also I think I can say that the space is an issue, but I think also there's a certain amount of issue of maybe confidence of to make something big is in essence maybe linked to that idea. If you're making something big, then people are more likely to see it, and am I ready to share these things, and then where would it go after I've made it? So yeah, I would like to work larger scale, but I think also it's finding the time to work bigger, because it's inevitable. Actually, that's not entirely true. Small things can take a long time as well, but I have in my head that if I start this project, then it will balloon and I will end up with this huge thing that I need to kind of finish quickly. I'm being very vague here. I had this idea of making a giant cake that is a human being could fit in it, and I've never made it, and I would like to make that very soon.
You just need to you just believe in yourself, because people will warm to you and they'll love your designs that you come up, your work. They'll just think it's big and it's just amazing, and it will really be something special. It really will.
I hope so. It's about time I did it.
Go for it. Thank you. Question 9. Do you have a favorite country you'd like to visit or you've been to?
I'm fascinated by America. I've been to the East Coast and I've been to the West Coast, which are such different places, but I just find the whole culture over there fascinating. It at times, and especially at the moment, it seems like it seems crazy. It seems like their politics, thankfully, isn't too closely aligned with ours currently. And their culture, their pop culture, I just found really, really interesting, and I would really like to go back there again. Another place that I was hoping to go to this year, and because of the pandemic hasn't, is Crete. So last year I went with a few friends to Crete, and we took part in a street art festival over there, and I was painting a mural on the wall. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I was so hoping that we were going to go and do it again this year. So I would love to go back to Crete and take part in the street art festival over there again. Because we just met so many wonderful people in the area while we were painting. And it's a beautiful place with great, interesting history and really good food. So yeah, I would like to go back to Crete.
What was your most favourite thing that you did in Crete, and what do you like about Greece compared to the UK?
Well, the heat, for one. The light, it was just so bright and so clear. You know, I think you forget even now where it's, you know, it's August, it's grey outside. You go to Crete and it's just blue sky and almost blinding light, but you see everything with such clarity. I remember when I was a teenager reading an interview with Barbara Hepworth, the sculptor, and she talks about how the quality of the light was different in Italy and how she found that really inspirational. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but when you do go to beautiful places in Southern Europe, you do suddenly realize, my God, the world looks so different because the light is so much clearer and so much brighter. But yeah, I had a great time. I painted a mural on the wall, which I'd never done before. So it was something that we prepared before we went. I already had it designed. And it's this thing again about confidence and about sharing your work with other people. I really enjoyed the process of painting, but I'd never done it on a wall before. So that was really enjoyable, the process, but it was great meeting people and chatting with them about their sort of relationship to the area where we were painting, and also getting their feedback, which was on the whole really positive. And it was really kind of affirming to have so many positive conversations with people about our work. And Greece is just, yeah, it was just such a friendly place. I've never been to Greece before, but it was just so friendly. So many interesting things to do in the town. It was Heraklion, so the capital of Crete. But I would very, very happily go back there again and explore more, because we spent most of the time painting. And I would love to have gone to all of the museums with all the to find out a little bit more about the history of the place.
Lovely. And I wanted to say that maybe you should do something around light, because it seemed like the light, it kind of attracted you, the light, and I just think that it's, you know, just very bright, and
it's just so vibrant. Just, you know, everything looks so wow, you know, all the colours are so vibrant when you're walking around, and you're just thinking, flipping it, how can you recreate this in Sheffield? And I don't know the answer to that, but maybe I need to look into it.
Yeah, just go for it and make it happen, and it will be spectacular. Question 10. Do you have a favourite dish or dessert?
I like eating a lot, and I have a real sweet tooth. And I've been umming and ahhing about whether I wanted to say ice cream or custard or vanilla slices. But I think I'm going to go for a tried and tested sweet that we eat a lot in our house, which is Tunnock's tea cakes and Tunnock's caramel wafer biscuits. So much so that in our house there are always the wrappers lying around, because we eat them and then I them, and these are some of the things that I'm making sequins out of, and they taste great, but the design of them is just beautiful. Yeah, so obviously this is an empty wrapper because I've already eaten these today.
Oh. My favourite dessert is custard, because you mentioned that, and that is lovely. And vanilla slice as well.
Yeah, and I will pretty much eat anything if it's got sugar in it. I do have a very sweet tooth.
Can I come for tea? Question 11. Anna, is there anything you'd like to talk about that you've never had the opportunity to share?
I would actually like to be more, I think, politically active in my work. I feel like now is a time when it's very important that as artists and makers and communicators that we stand up for what we believe in. I remember when I was doing my masters, when I began it, the tutors were encouraging us to think of causes or issues or problems that as a designer you can address or try to solve. And I remember saying, I'm not worthy. I'm a really light-hearted person. I have real difficulty trying to kind of engage on a more serious level. And then when I did the all of my work that was around breastfeeding, it did make me think, all right, actually, there are ways of producing work that serves a purpose that doesn't have to be really heavy or serious. And I think the state of the world at the moment requires that we should be addressing maybe social or cultural problems that we've got. And I found it very hard trying. I have my opinions, and I'm very happy. I'm very confident in my opinions, but trying to find a way to put them creatively. So I am being more outspoken with my beliefs in my work. I want to do more of that. I've been thinking, is there ways that I can use my creative voice to support Black Lives Matter, or supporting people during the pandemic? And I'm really, really struggling with it still, because I don't know how to use my voice, this voice and my creative voice, my creative sort of making skills, to put those two together. And I really want to be able to do that. I really want to be able to find a way of marrying those two things together. There's an artist called Bob and Roberta Smith. I don't know if you're familiar with him. And he makes signs, so that it's all slogans. He makes them really quick, and that they are a method of communication, and they're very quick, immediate way of communicating, and they're very democratic, and they're the kind of things that people can kind of emulate. And what I would like to do is to be able to do something that has the power of Bob and Roberta Smith, but it sort of manifests itself in a slightly different medium.
I admire you, and through your art you can express your political views that can reach many people in a positive way.
I'd like to think so. It's just finding that medium to do it. I think with the pandemic, but also with just the rise of social media, I think it's become more and more easy to connect with people and to share these ideas and these ways of working with things like Instagram. So I've used Instagram a little bit over the pandemic. So I made an album covers quiz. So I recreated album covers, but basically in selfie form. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's kind of something that's probably made people laugh, but it's not really that exciting or that engaging with actually what's going on. So I want to use Instagram more to make points.
And it's so good that you want to help out with so many good causes, and just the things that you do are just really, really great.
Thank
And
you.
even like us now connecting on Zoom, that's like another way of another form, and it's really good.
Thanks.
So in some ways, even though it's been a tough and hard time, in some ways, good to still come out of a year that people would class as a horrible year.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope to see more of these interviews because it's really great to see how other people think and how other people work. So yeah, these interviews are a great idea. I'm looking forward to seeing them all.
Thank you. And finally, to end this great interview, Anna, could you share some inspirational thoughts or words with us?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting this because I kind of feel like we've been having a tutorial and you've been giving me that little bit of a pep talk to make me feel better, and I kind of feel like I'm doing the same back to you now, which is I do quite a bit of teaching, and whenever I feel like I've got to give advice, the main one I give is don't be scared of failure. I think fear of failure and perfectionism kills creativity. I think don't ever stop and don't ever feel like if you put pen to paper in, or pencil to paper and it goes wrong, then you've ruined it. There's I don't believe in using erasers. I just think you should just keep trying to make something and failing. I've had thousands of failures in the things that I've tried to make over the years, but it's only from that you learn. So yeah, fail and keep failing, and then you'll fail better every time. I think someone inspirational once said, I'm paraphrasing massively, but I think it is important to not give in to fear of failure and then just making nothing instead.
Thank you so much. You're very open and very honest, and that's what I like to hear. It means a lot to me. So
Thank
thank you for
you.
that.
It's really nice to talk to you.
Thanks, Anna, for being a part of Interviews with Ash. I hope you can come back in the future and update us of some of your journeys.
Happily.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.